Good evening, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Switch again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Friday night, November 28, 2014, around 8:38 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. A cold night out there. Lows are going to go into the teens and sometimes single digits in New Hampshire, where there's a deep snow cover and stuff. Tomorrow in this area will only be a couple of degrees above freezing, but beginning on Sunday, another warm up in the 50s and stuff to melt old snow away. Then Tuesday's going to be around 33 again, but Wednesday more 50-degree weather with some showers, and then could be 30s again at the end of the next week. A roller coaster ride of temperatures this upcoming week in the New England area. And tomorrow night at 7:30, the WBZ TV4 news team in Boston, Massachusetts will preview winter. That should be interesting. And that's about it on that. Still getting a lot of good positive feedback on these video blogs. Love doing these video blogs. Facebook friends and YouTube followers, good comments. Keep them coming, because there'll be more on the way. Up to like 496 videos on Facebook. And it's good. It's good. This is almost 500. And anyway, my third and final video blog subject of the night is about Angelo King Kong Mosca. Angelo Mosca was a famous Canadian Football League player, and he also was a professional wrestler for many years. Angelo was actually born in Waltham, Massachusetts, and he played college football at Notre Dame as a defensive tackle for a couple of years, and then he was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles in the 30th round, number 350 overall pick in the 1959 NFL draft, but he never played one down in the NFL because he played for the CFL for 15 seasons with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and the Montreal Alouettes. He was a 5-time Canadian Football League All-Star. He was a 5-time Grey Cup champion, and he played in a tied for most Grey Cups in 9. And he was one of the most meanest CFL players ever, and he was a pretty good player with a defensive and stuff like that. And during the off seasons for the CFL, Angelo Mosca wrestled part-time in many Canadian territories like Montreal, Stampede Wrestling, Vancouver, Toronto. He was a heel. He was nicknamed King Kong Mosca, and his famous move was the sleeper hold. He won many regional titles in Stampede Wrestling and in Montreal and in Toronto. He retired from the CFL in 1972. Then he focused on wrestling full-time, Angelo, as his King Kong Mosca gimmick. He went all over North America territories, and he actually turned face in the Toronto area in the late 70s and stuff. Angelo's biggest run in the world of professional wrestling was in 1981 when he wrestled for the WWE, and he was managed by Captain Louis Albano, and he feuded with Bob Backlund in one of the TV shows they did on Championship Wrestling. Mosca was being a preliminary wrestler badly after the match, and when Bob Backlund came up, and then Mosca gave him the Tree of Rose and spat at Bob Backlund, and Bob Backlund was getting mad at the interview and stuff like that. Mosca and Backlund had a feud over the WWE title, and they made the house show circus in New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Landover, Maryland a couple of times. I think they had 2 matches at Madison Square Garden. The first one, I think Mosca won by disqualification, and they had a second match with Pat Patterson, the special guest referee. Pat Patterson made a fast count on Angelo King Kong Mosca, and that was to set up a feud with him, with Mosca and Patterson. And this happened during a Championship Wrestling TV taping when King Kong Mosca was wrestling a preliminary wrestler, and he dragged him up after 2 all the time when he was trying to pin him and stuff like that. And the referee, Dick Worley, got so mad at King Kong Mosca that he disqualified him and stuff like that. And then when Pat Patterson came up for the interview, he says, "I'm glad that finally they disqualified King Kong Mosca on television." And when Patterson was going to interview with Dick Worley after Dick Worley leaves World, Mosca hits Patterson with a pitcher of water, and you wouldn't believe it. Vince McMahon said, "I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Is that a king or is that a King Kong Mosca?" He was selling it like $1 million, Vince McMahon, in the commentary and stuff like that. And a couple of weeks later, they interviewed Pat Patterson and Dick Worley, but when they were interviewing Dick Worley about the incident, King Kong Mosca comes in and says, he claims that, "Pat Patterson, you changed this referee's decision. This thing." And McMahon says, "We'll take you back," and stuff like that to see what happened. That tape's doctored to it. And then Angelo, King Kong Mosca, was saying, "Little boy, blue boy," stuff like that. And that was to promote their house show feud in New York and Philly and Boston, which Pat Patterson won. Afterwards, like, King Kong Mosca wrestled in Florida. He was managed by J. Dillon, and he was part of the stable. He was part of J. Dillon's stable. And then he moved to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling in 1983 as a face. He was mentoring his son, Angelo Mosca Jr., who was a pretty decent wrestler himself. He won the 1983 PWA Rookie of the Year, Angelo Mosca Jr., and Angelo Mosca Sr. was the referee for the Briscoe brothers, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Jay Youngblood's NWA World Title match at Starrcade 83. Angelo called that down the middle, and afterwards the Briscoe brothers attacked him. I thought they would probably have the Briscoe brothers against the Mosca father and son, but that never came to be. Eventually, like, Mosca returned to the WWE as an announcer for WWE All-Star Wrestling when they taped it in Canada for about 7 months, from August of 1984 to like January of 1985. And actually he got into a brief feud with the Iron Sheik. They had a match at Madison Square Garden where Mosca won easily and stuff like that. And Mosca was fired by the WWE because his poor commentating skills and stuff like that. And then Mosca became a wrestling promoter in his native Ontario, even though he's not from Ontario, Canada originally. He's a naturalized Canadian citizen. He promoted NWA Ontario, and he brought in some of the NWA stars like Ric Flair and Magnum TA and Dusty Rhodes for special shows. He actually promoted 2 Mosca Mania cards at the Hamilton Cops Coliseum in 1986, which they drew a decent house of 12,000. It's a 24,000 seat arena. 12,000, half the capacity for a card that's not associated with WWE or like NWA. It was kind of NWA. I feel it was decent, but when they had the next year in 1987, it only drew 3,200, and Mosca got out of the pro wrestling business promoting. He was inducted into the CFL Hall of Fame in 1987, and he's done some PR work for the CFL, and he's done several commercials in Canada for many years and stuff like that. And he wrote an autobiography in 2011, and he got into a fight with another CFL legend at a show in 2011, and he was featured on Dr. Phil, Angelo Mosca, and he's come full circle. I don't know if Angelo Mosca is going to get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. I doubt it, but you never know these days. That's about it on him, and I'll be back, Facebook friends and YouTube followers, tomorrow for 3 more video blogs. First video blog is going to be about the top 10 greatest players in Toronto Blue Jays history. Then it's going to be our section about 6:05 Eastern Time on TBS Saturday night. Going to talk about Georgia Championship Wrestling and the history of WCW at that time slot. And the third and final video blog of the night will be personality profile. I'm not going to tell you who it is, and you're going to find out who it is on my last status update if you're my Facebook friend and stuff like that. See you later, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Good night, everybody.